And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Bubba and the Bloom, episode 152. We're here to continue our position by position recaps of the first half, outfield and relief pitching coming up for you on today's show. We'll talk a little listener league action and much, much more. But before we get to that, you can find me on Twitter at BDNtrick, the podcast at Bubba Bloom Pod, and my co-host, as always, on Twitter at RyanBHQ. Ryan Bloomfield, how we doing, my friend?
Doing pretty good. It was tough to carve some time out of my schedule to join you tonight, Bubba. It's been a
busy man.
It's been a college football video game marathon ever since Monday at 1:00 when it was released online. And it's been a fun day and a half. The game is awesome. The game is freaking awesome. It's been, like I said, it's been 11 years, so a lot has changed. The graphics are so much better. I am a lot older. It's kind of like I was texting you. It's kind of like I'm that 40-year-old guy playing pickup when I used to play when I was 20, and now I'm 40. And so I'm the game is hard. I am practicing and getting better. Had a good showing online today.
There you go.
We're starting to get back. So yes, it's been a good All-Star break so far. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Michael C in the chat goes, Bloom's eyes look like Snell playing college football for 36 hours straight. Yep, that's about right.
We did have a little rough night of sleep at the house last night, child-wise, not because of the video game, but that is why we're a little loopy tonight, but it's all good.
Yep, I'm doing well. I haven't had to record first pitch this week, so I'm going to bed a lot earlier than usual, so it's been good on my side of things. And
this is your third podcast today.
Yeah, but again, I'll get to go to bed after this one, so it's a big improvement from weeks past. So looking forward to that for the next few days, of course, before we get back to the second half grind. As Ben Tidd told me on my Bench with Bubba show, we still have 10 weeks of fab left. So we have 2.5 months of ball to go, which is good. Good to see. I kept thinking, this is week 18 fab coming up. Usually we have 26. Now we still have 10 weeks to go before It's all said and done.
That's right.
And we'll have fun there. But it's been a fun All-Star break. We saw Shohei hit a tank. Then we saw, in Giants fashion, Logan Webb blew it. And then Jarren Durant hit the 2-run homer. So, it's just typical All-Star fun. Giants don't need home field anyways because it won't matter. So at least the Dodgers don't get it, right? Right, fans? Okay. But yeah, it was an okay game. I watched most of it while I recorded my other show. But did you watch any of the All-Star game, or is that out of the realm of possibilities for you?
That was out of the realm with this new hobby back in my life. Time management is of the utmost importance. So usually from 5 to 8 in the Bloomfield household is kid time and dinner time and all that stuff. So I had the All-Star game kind of on the background, but no sound. And so I just saw a little bit, but not too much.
Did you watch the Derby at all?
No, I did not.
Okay. I actually watched all of it this year for the first time in forever.
How'd you like it?
It was good. They need nothing against the guys in it. They need more big names. You just need the dudes. I know they won't, but you need an Aaron Judge. You need these guys that are like Yordan Alvarez. It'll never happen, or get Vladito back in there. The guys were still good, but and Alec Baum. No, this isn't a slight on him, but he should not be him and Teoscar in the finals. That shouldn't be it. That's just not what you with everything out there in baseball. But it's like the slam dunk contest. The big dogs don't do that anymore. It's just the way of the world.
Was Teoscar a fill-in, or was he just late? He was one of the last ones to.
He was a late ad. Yep. And in between his times, even when he was practicing in the tunnel, he was wearing a back brace the whole time. He looked like Jason Day. He looked like Jason.
I'm
Day.
Sure.
It was awesome.
I'm sure LA Brass is thrilled to see that.
Well, it's been bugging him all year. That's why he keeps missing parts of games. Oh yeah. It's like a heated back brace.
Then at least keep loose. I don't know. That's
the new format. I get it limits things and that. So that part was fine, but I don't know. I think it just needs more big names. It's still fun. Actually, it was Bobby Witt and Teoscar in the finals. My bad. Baum got eliminated in the semis.
That's right.
And Bobby Witt, it was fun because went to a playoff, and then Bobby Witt almost tied it in the playoffs. Went off the center field wall. That was fun. And even my daughter towards the end, I'm like, he's getting tired. She kept yelling, timeout. And I'm like, he can't get a timeout, but she doesn't understand. It was just that. She kept asking, why are we rooting for someone besides the Giants? Is what she kept asking me. That didn't make sense to her in that regard. But
well, honey, there are no Giants in the field this year.
Yes, I said, well, we have a pitcher and an outfielder in the game tomorrow, but No, not today, baby. We're not that good. We don't hit home runs in real life. Why should we hit them in the All-Star game?
The closest thing to a giant being in the home run derby is the pitcher throwing batting practice.
Yes, that is true. That is very true. So yeah, that's it was entertaining. It was the first one I've watched in a long time, but yeah, it was just lacking that star power to me to make it work. There's enough of those guys in baseball. They got to find a way to bring it. Like Ozuna, you thought would be the star power guy. No, Gunnar Henderson. No, like it was rough in that regard. But
yeah,
enough's enough. All right, let's recap the Bubba and the Bloom auction listener leagues. This is fun. We recapped it a few weeks back, but I pulled up the overall leaderboard. Ryan, do you want to go and read names, or would you like me to do this?
Did you scroll? Did you get far down enough yet to see the two Bloom squads? Or
I just did now. I was sticking up top. I was trying to be respectful. There's a Bloom squad I can still see if I look at the top of the board.
All right, good. I'll read some names. Actually, and just a quick refresher for folks that are either new or whatever. But we did vow to do a few of these updates throughout the season, and no better time than the All-Star break to do this. But the Bubba and the Bloom listener leagues were a set of 4 auction leagues that we set up back in February, right? $50 buy-in on the NFBC, and the thought was we were new to NFBC auctions. A lot of the same folks that were signing up, the 56 as we call them, the 56 listeners who did this for the first time with us. We're all kind of in the same boat, and so the NFBC tracked this and we have an overall setup on the NFBC website, so it updates every day and we can see. So we've got our overall 60. Number 1 right now is Brandon Snyder, who's I believe in my league, and I absolutely have no chance of catching that. So congrats, Brandon, on your first half win in the overall. John Wilder is in second. Greg Sheeran, Nick Bullock, and Mark Crom round out the top 5. We've got the boss man. We've got Baseball HQ's Brent Hershey. Number 6, we've got some dude named Brian named 7th. That would be Bubba. I'll give Bubba credit there for being 7th overall. Jason Weir, Derek Ishler, and Scott Burks rounds out the top 10. You've got a 7th overall team. You also have a 29th overall team. I've got a 37th and a 52nd, which I will say, my team that's in 52nd, that's kind of a side pet project for me this second half. It was like 57th, 58th out of 60, which is really embarrassing a couple months in. So I'm up to 52. I want to see how high I can get that sucker in the second half. So we'll see, man. But congrats to all the top 10. It's been a really fun contest. And I'll let you, I guess, remind everyone what the overall prize is.
I'll get to the prize in a minute, but I'm just like looking at the top 8. 4 of the 8 are in the same league. That's interesting.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
4 League 668. Snyder, Bullock, Crom, and Weir are all on 668. If you go to the top 9, there are 3 in my league that I'm 7th in. Sheeran, myself, and Derek Isher. So if you do the math, 7 of the top 9 are in 2 leagues.
It's a tough break for Jason Weir, who is 8th overall and 4th in his league.
Yeah. So that's an interesting little look, just kind of peeking behind the curtain here. But that's going to be a fun second half, and it's just cool seeing a bunch of people trying it out for the first time, and listeners of the show getting a crack at it and seeing where it goes. And we'll keep updating it as we go, but it's a cool little deal. And as Ryan mentioned, the winner of the overall of the listener league, so currently Brandon Snyder, the winner gets to pick an autographed jersey of a player of their choice, a living player, a currently active player. That has to be the thing. Currently active. You can't go Babe Ruth on me here, but it has to be a currently active player. I suggest someone that helps you win the title would be my suggestion to it, but you're allowed to pick anybody active. That's fine on a major league roster. So you get an autographed jersey of your choice.
So it's beautiful. Yeah. The podcast budget, we aren't big enough yet to open up autographed Hall of Famers. Only active folks.
But yeah, you can get your Cunyas, your Sotos, your Judges. You can get the mascot would be an option. Like there's tons of places you can go on this one. So have at it, have fun, and we have a long, like you said, 10 more weeks to go. So it ain't over yet. If you look at Snyder, he's got a pretty good lead right now on second place. But again, long ways to go. A lot can change over that period of time. Like John Wilder was 46 points closer heading into Sunday, which would have made it much closer. So
Yeah.
a lot of moving and shaking still at this point in the season.
Yep. That's what I tell my team in 52nd. That's what I tell my team.
Dude, you're gonna be like you're gonna be around 40th by the time it's all said and done. I have confidence in you.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like
You just needed that brain clearing college football week, and you're gonna be ready to rock and roll.
All right. Appreciate the support.
That's what we're here for. Now that we got that out of the way, can we see how many bets I'm beating you by?
Yeah, now that we're done supporting my awful team. So what we would also figured we'd do is just an all-star break check-in, and we will get to the first half outfield relievers next. A little check-in on all of the beer bets, the side bets that we have put together either throughout draft season or kind of during the season as well. I'm tracking all these, and all of these bets amount to beers or high noons. First Pitch Arizona, drink of choice. First Pitch Arizona, by the way, October 31st through November 3rd. Be on the lookout shortly for registration info. We'll get that out to you all as well. But let's run it down, man. First beer bet that we did this draft season must have been during the first base episode was your Christian Walker to my Paul Goldschmidt.
It's feeling pretty good right about now.
So, Bubba, I'm conceding that one. Bubba, you're up 1. Second this was during the second base episode, Zach Geloff to return his ADP at second base. And from what I recall on our second base recap last week, Geloff is like 30th at the position and was drafted about 12th or 14th. So I'm looking pretty good there. You bet that Geloff he would return his ADP. Yeah. And I said no. This next one is super interesting because, as we'll get to on the outfield portion of this episode, they are 1 and 2 at the position. It is my Aaron Judge against your Juan Soto.
That was a fun one. Yeah,
that was a fun one, and there may be no loser in that one if they're both top 2, but we'll see. That Judge is 1 and Soto's 2. Technically, I'm winning, but that's been a good bet. So I'm up 2-1 technically so far. This one
close column. I got a column over here close. I'm not conceding that one yet. This is
writing this down.
I'm keeping track of the leads right now. I'm not putting the bets down. You got that.
All right. This one was interesting. Before my full heel turn, Tyler Glasnow. Do you remember this one? No. Over under 150 innings pitched.
Yeah.
Over under 150. Tyler Glasnow. I had the under. This again, when I say pre-heel turn, this was before I drafted Glasnow in labor and then took him in TGFBI. He's at what, 109?
109 already. Barring a serious injury, you could notch that one up to.
Hey, man is on the IL. Man is on the IL.
I'll put this one in the undecided column so far.
Yeah, you're looking good there. Next up is Andres Munoz versus my Andres Munoz versus your Pete Fairbanks.
Ooh, that's really close.
And that is close.
Munoz IL time.
Munoz is 17th per the Fangraphs Player Rater.
Yeah, 15.
Fairbanks is 53rd.
Yeah, but you know the Player Rater sucks. 15 saves to Fairbanks 17.
Oh, there's more categories than saves.
Hey, I'm just doing a peripheral look. We can obviously
caveman math.
Yep. So we're gonna call that undecided.
Right. So they're in the same ballpark.
Yeah.
This one you're gonna like. This one is not in the same ballpark. This is your Ryan McMahon against my Brandon Drury.
Ooh.
Yeah, for 5x5 value in 2024.
Could put that one in the win column.
That one I'll concede. So I've got the two. Basically, I may win like the number of bets, but in terms of sheer disasters, my Goldschmidt and Christian Walker, and then Drury versus McMahon. Credit to you on McMahon. That was a good call.
All-star Ryan McMahon.
Yeah, all-star Ryan McMahon. All right, and then we did 3 in-season bets. So all those were preseason. The now infamous bet of O'Neal Cruz versus Bo Bichette.
I think I'm not ready to concede it just yet.
I wouldn't
either.
I wouldn't
not
either.
The way O'Neal Cruz can't stay on the field.
It's 5x5 value from May through the end of the year. So we'll see. I think I'm ahead there, but yeah, I would not concede if I were you. We also have Jake Berger versus George Springer, second half Player Rater. I would like to say I'm ahead on that one because George Springer has since taken off. Jake Berger has not. And then finally, this is from our starting pitcher episode: Hunter Brown versus Pablo Lopez. Best rest of season ERA after the All-Star break. So to be determined.
After the All-Star, okay.
Yeah.
So then the way I have it now is Bubba 2, Ryan 1 with the go off, 6 undecided.
I've only got you're only giving me one, dude.
Yeah, I'm not giving up the other ones yet. They're not as like go off I gave up. The other ones aren't. What another one would I give you?
All right.
2.5 months of baseball.
You're good. You're good. All right.
Fair.
Fair. So that's where we stand.
Yeah, it's 2, 1, and 6. So there's a long ways. This could turn into a 12 o'clock, recount situation. I don't know, but yeah, it's either that or Ryan's going to smoke me on this one because I think he's ahead in most of those 6, but I'm not ringing the bell yet.
But not yeah. You don't give up like I do. Maybe I shouldn't give up my Goldschmidt versus Christian Walker.
You haven't paid for a round of golf yet in Arizona, so I'm not giving up these beers that easily.
Fair. Completely
we
fair.
don't even have our golf bet this year because we're not doing our weekly.
We don't.
Yeah, that's good.
Poor planning
for you. I'm just kidding. We already talked off air about that, so you're good. All right, so yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on those. Maybe update those again with like a month to go and see if I start conceding or whatnot. But that's fun. There's a total of 9 bets, and knowing my dummy personality, I might have another bet or two in me.
I was gonna say we may not be done.
Yeah.
Hell, on tonight's episode, we might throw something out there.
I might start chasing here pretty soon.
That's right. That's right. You're gonna get a little nervous. Start to double down. That's when you that's when you really start to get in trouble.
That's when you know you have a habit. That's for sure.
Yep.
All right. Well, that was a fun little update. It's the All-Star break. Let's have some fun with that. But let's get back to what people have been enjoying quite a bit. I know I've been enjoying it. Ryan likes it too. First half positional recaps. This has been a really cool exercise going position by position. We've made it through the infield now, including catchers, of course. And now we're going to head to the outfield tonight, do some relief pitching. And then on next week, on next Tuesday, we'll do your starting pitchers because Thursday, we got real fab this week, folks.
Yeah, Thursday, we're back.
Friday. We'll be recording on Friday this week, just so you know. Fab on Friday this week. But we'll still have it for you. We'll still be live. So come check us out if you're around during the day. If not, listen to it as your usual leisure and see where it goes. Just don't let Matt Wallner get around. He might knock you out of the park. All right, outfielders is a leisure joke. Jordan leisure joke.
Jesus, dude. You won't stop with those leisure jokes.
It's just a leisurely way to go about it.
It started off bad, and now it's.
Oh, I'm gonna beat it to death. Don't you worry. All right. Let's talk outfield position, recapping the position. Any thoughts before we dig in on this one, Ryan?
So, yeah, I guess just quick recap. This is the same kind of formula that we've done the past 2 episodes, but we're showing on the live stream the top 40 outfielders by preseason ADP and then where they stand currently according to the Fangraphs Player Rater, both overall and by position, and that's all color coded so we can see very quickly. Bubba, this is my big takeaway: the number of busts at the top, the number of busts in outfield, and there's been a lot of talk so far this season how the first round this year is kind of the worst that it's been so far. I mean, compared to at least recent years in recent memory, and I think outfield is a big reason behind that because the top 6 outfielders drafted, and for various reasons, performance, bad luck with injuries, whatever, top 6 outfielders drafted, really none of them are inside the top 18. And then, so that's Ronald Acuna, Julio, Mookie Betts, Kyle Tucker, Corbin Carroll, and Fernando Tatis are all outside the top 18 at the position. What makes it even worse is the crew of outfielders that were drafted at kind of that 1-2 turn at the end of the first round, and really both 12 and 15 team leagues. And that's the aforementioned Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, and Yordan Alvarez, all 3 of whom are top 5 players at the position so far this year. So just interesting, the back half of the first round in the outfield has vastly outperformed those really top 5 overall picks. And I think that's really been, this is, if you're looking to blame one position, maybe non-Spencer Strider, Garrett Cole division for the failures of the first round, it's outfield.
Yep. No, it's, we saw shortstops take them in the first round, take them all on the last show. Outfielders, it's kind of a theme where we know it was a deep position, but we were kind of worried about after the elite outfielders how deep it was, and apparently we could have been okay waiting if need be at the position. So, like you said, the top guys, Acuna's hurt, Betts hurt, Tucker hurt, Tatis hurt. Tatis was probably a top 15 guy at least before he got hurt.
Yeah.
Tucker easily was before he got hurt. Same with Betts. So I'd be willing to imagine those guys were up there, and you still want higher than top 15 from those picks. That's the problem. They're top 8 picks overall, but still pretty solid. I guess I'll just ask the question. Actually, we have a Corbin Carroll question later. We'll stick to that later in the show, but he might, I know he's not red or pink even on this sheet. He might be one of the biggest busts period in this entire thing, just because he went 8th overall, in my opinion.
Who? Corbin Carroll?
Corbin Carroll. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes, absolutely. And maybe my color coding's a little off because we're comparing like the true red is like Jordan Walker at 900th overall, so it kind of throws everything off. But no, Corbin Carroll has been an unmitigated disaster. But yeah, we'll talk about it. I even think Julio, even though he is 23rd at the position, like you have passes for Betts and Tucker. I mean, even Tucker was on pace for an awesome year. Julio is not, especially in the power department, gotten it done. We've seen a pretty big decline in his barrel rate, really every year since Julio's been in the majors, which is interesting. The saving grace somewhat is 18 stolen bases for Julio. So I don't think he's out of the woods yet, but it's just interesting when you look at Julio 81st overall, when really the choice in draft season, if you recall, was Julio or Bobby Witt, like the number 2, number 3 overall pick. It's kind of a toss-up at the time. And that decision has drastically altered the fates of fantasy teams out there.
Yeah, it's weird looking at J-Rod's X stats. Like they all have him producing better than he actually has produced. Not like a drastic amount, but still improvements. But then I look at his ground ball rate; it's higher than it's been. He keeps going up like 1% or 2 every year. Barrel rate's down, hard hit rate's down. It's tough, but we've seen him have monster second halves in the past. So that's the optimism. That's the optimism, but it has not been great, to say the least, with J-Rod early on here. You mentioned Soto, Judge, Jordan. They've been awesome, and not a whole lot else to add to that, really. What's going on with Michael Harris? I know that the Braves as a whole have tremendously struggled, but he's 99th in the outfield position, 368 overall. This is the guy that everyone was drafting going, solid batting average floor, 2020 upside. Well, he's hitting 250 with 5 homers and 8 steals in the first half. So what are we thinking on Michael Harris here?
This was tough. I thought Michael Harris was one of the bigger values, quote unquote values, perceived values, whatever. In those, I mean, he was a 3rd rounder in 15 teamers, and I was advocating for Michael Harris in the 2nd round. The big thing that we've seen so far from Michael Harris is a guy through his first 1,000 plate appearances in the majors with good power, 10% barrel rate. Like that's hard contact. That's consistently hard contact. That's been slashed in half so far in 2024. I just did not see that coming in what should have been a growth year for Michael Harris. And he caught whatever disease there is in Atlanta where none of them can hit anymore outside of Marcell Ozuna and a couple others, but it's been bad in the power department. That really trickles through everything. Still making good contact, still running, but the lack of hard contact is why A has a 250 batting average and B only 5 home runs through 280 plate appearances. Like that's tough, man.
Yeah, and a monster. He's been on the IL for a while too, so it doesn't help. Of course,
I mean that doesn't help.
So
but he was bad before. 5 homers.
Way bad before that. Yeah,
5 homers and 280 plate appearances. Like that's not great.
Should be back pretty soon though, so we'll have to keep an eye on that and see if we get improvements. But not holding my breath at the moment. Another guy that's been just crushing. We've talked about him quite a few times. Is Randy Arozarena, 63rd at the position, 221 overall. I have lots of Randy, as most know. Dude's hitting 202, but he's got the 12 homers and 14 steals. Like he might hit 200 this year and go 25-25, which is hilarious. Because it's like he's doing really, really good in like 3 to 4 categories, but destroying you in another one. Man, so like what are we thinking on Randy, who overall profile looks a lot like years past, but the production has dropped tremendously?
That's pretty much the same profile, I think, as previous years. Strikeout rate's the exact same, swing strikes the exact same, still above average power, still running like crazy. It's and sometimes it's lazy to just call it bad BABIP luck, which is really why Arozarena's batting average is down 50 points and thus dragging down everything else, runs and RBI and whatnot. But that's what I think. I just think it's been a tough, really 2.5 months. Arozarena did start to kind of turn things around at some point later in the first half, but I from a skills perspective, I don't think this guy is much different than what we saw previous 3 seasons. And I think Arozarena is a pretty decent bounce back candidate in the second half, to be honest.
Well, my fantasy teams hope you are correct, Ryan. Adolis Garcia has been a major bummer as well. Him and Randy went back to back, and Adolis started out white hot, and everyone claimed steroids. He must have had to take a test because he's shut down quickly after that. 211, 17 homers, 7 steals, so more power than Randy, fewer steals, similar batting average. It's been a rough go for Adolis this season.
Yeah, and we did get a listener question. We might as well get out ahead of it, address it now, rest of season, and we'll give proper attribution at the end of the show, or maybe now as you reach for your phone.
I can do it right now if you want.
Basically, it's rest of season, Randy Arozarena or Adolis Garcia, which I thought was a really good question because they were being drafted right next to each other. I would lean Randy Arozarena. I think you have the stolen base production to fall back on during slumps that Adolis does not. And I just think the strikeout rate with the Arozarena is just a little bit better. And I think I would take Arozarena over Adolis.
Yeah, that was Martin Sokolsky hit that up. Arozarena and Adolis are basically the Spider-Man meme. They've been equally disappointing. Who is likely to rebound in the second half? I agree, Ryan. I'm going to go with Randy Arozarena on that one. So we shall see. Jazz is producing, all things considered. So that's been good. 25th at the position. He was, like the 15th off the board, but still producing in this one. Let's talk about Nolan Jones. Ooh. Nolan Jones, 161 in the position, 680 overall, been battling back issues, back on the IL with a back injury. So much so that I nearly dropped him this past week because I think he's kind of broken at the moment. 202, 3 homers, 3 steals in 49 games this year, striking out 33% of the time, which is reverting back to his 2022 season. He had that 401 BABIP last year, Ryan. 306 this year. That'll put a damper on things.
It will. I mean, this is a lost season for Nolan Jones. Like it's almost impossible to kind of do any kind of skills analysis here, but just because the plate approach was bad entering the season, which is why I was off Nolan Jones. It's still really bad. But Nolan Jones, at least he ran a ton last year, and B, hit for a ton of power last year. Nolan Jones has 5 barrels in 191 plate appearances. But again, how much of that is he's playing through a back injury that has
ground ball rate's risen 6% this year.
Yes, it has. Yeah, 50% almost on the ground ball rate, which you don't want either. So, it's just a throwaway season. I'd be, it's also kind of lazy. I wonder what his ADP will be next year.
Yep.
But Nolan Jones, that'll be a fascinating one to see how much the market falls off Nolan Jones. If you believed in Nolan Jones entering the season as a 4th-round pick, and you count this as a lost season with back injuries, assuming the health checks out entering 2025, you still believe in that, that could be a nice discount because Nolan Jones won't be going anywhere near the 4th or 5th round next year.
Yep, totally agree. He's going to be one of those like post 150 to 200 guys that you're going to have some fun with next year and see where it goes. We got Wyatt Langford. He's 68th at the position, 246 overall. Really struggled out the gate. Came back off the IL, hit 309 in June with 3 homers. He's hitting 222 in July with another home run. So he's kind of reverted back a bit here over the first 12 games, but a big June coming back. Just for fun, Ryan, where do you think he finishes at the position at the end of the season?
So he's 68th right now. I think he finishes better than that.
Bold take, okay.
Thanks. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, man. I've been playing college football video games. I'm rusty. Hey, who's Wyatt Langford again?
I'm trying to get Ryan to run the option here, but he's just going dive left on me with the fullback. This is getting ridiculous.
That's right. Wyatt Langford. He was a prospect, wasn't he?
He was pretty hyped up at one point this draft season. Yep.
No, man. I think this dude. So I did a speculator article with like all second half team of guys who were drafted early and returned first or a single digit value. And Wyatt Langford was on that list. I think he could be like a top 30 outfielder the rest of the way. Who's to say like he can't just go off? I mean, really over the last month he has. You said like in July he's kind of slowed down a little bit, but all 4 of his outside the park home runs were all in the last month. And this is again a 22-year-old. Prospect growth is not linear. Like it's a game of adjustments. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Wyatt Langford, I wouldn't say goes off, but returns his draft value in the second half, by itself. I think that, that wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world. I wouldn't bet on it, but I wouldn't be totally surprised.
Would you rather have Wyatt Langford or Randy Arozarena?
I'd take a stab at Langford, to be honest. And Michael in the chat says Langford is 25th in outfield over the last month. So
that makes sense.
I'd take a stab at Langford. At some point, it's going to click, and we may have already started seeing it click.
Langford or J-Rod?
J-Rod. Don't, come on.
Okay. That's fun. All right. Trout should be back soon. For how long, we don't know. Christian Yelich, boring is beautiful, folks. Boring is beautiful. 8th at the position. 36th overall. It's the guy in drafts. Everyone's like, you know what? All he's going to do is hit like 260 and maybe get me 10 home runs. And he's got 11 homers and 21 steals so far at the break, hitting 326. Dude's been absolutely lights out this season.
It's the 326 to me when I was kind of running through when I created this list and kind of ran through a few of the more surprising names to prep for this show. And yes, I did some prep for this show. Christian Yelich's 326 batting average is just like, that's the reason why he's a top 10 outfielder. Like I think it's important to emphasize how good 326 really is in a year where batting average again is dropping. I believe 326 is like 90 points above league average. Like that's such an advantage to have that batting average on your team. And I mean, you mentioned the homers and steals. The steals is also like,
21 steals.
Dude, he's 21 for 22 on the, like he could go push 40 bags, 30, 35, something like that. So this is I feel like this is almost like a re-breakout season for Christian Yelich that I'm not sure how much appreciation it's getting from the masses. Christian Yelich has been like really, really damn good for 2 full seasons now.
Yep. As long as he brings such a great floor with upside. We talked about it in draft season that it just seemed like a guy that I wish I would have taken my advice. I had some shares. I wish I had more. That should have been one of those guys to circle in drafts. I know it's hindsight and everything, but it should have been like
but it's funny, dude. Like, so one of the,
look who he's going next to. We were all in on him.
Yeah, that's true. A, we were next to Seiya Suzuki, but B, so we just got finished talking about Nolan Jones and the back injuries. Yeah. Christian Yelich has had his fair share of back injuries throughout his career. Even spent time on the IL. I want to say in late August, mid September last year. Like it lingered
he came back right before the playoffs last year.
Right. So like I don't know. We are not fantasy doctors, but who's to say, entering the season, who was at more of an injury risk, Nolan Jones or Christian Yelich? I bet more people would have said Christian Yelich entering the season with the same type of injury. And Yelich has been able to either play with it. I don't want to say play through it, but yeah, man, he's been awesome.
Yep. Seiya Suzuki, wanted to bring him up because it's been a tale of like 3 seasons almost. Like good oblique injury. It looks like he's healthy again, kind of like last year, all over again, Ryan. Like here we go again with Seiya Suzuki. Overall stat line 270, 13 homers and 9 steals. Last year, 20 homers overall and 6 steals. So he's running more right now, which is great to see. But what I also wanted to mention, because he is playing better, I think I mentioned it on our last show. I said, don't look now. He's heating up. I hit 258 with 2 homers in June with 5 steals. In July, in 13 games, Seiya's hitting 321 with a homer and 2 more stolen bases. So that's after a 219 May. If he can continue heading this direction, which it's all been health-based with him pretty much, Seiya Suzuki right now in the first half as the 27th outfielder, this guy could finish in a really strong way.
Yeah, I think a lot of it with Seiya is health. With the oblique, it has come up a couple times. Seiya Suzuki was one of the better hitters in the second half last year, which in the baseball forecaster this season was one of the big reasons why we threw a pretty aggressive upside projection on Seiya. I trying to pull up what it was, but Seiya Suzuki in the second half, I want to say hit like over 330, right around there with homers and steals. So not expecting that again, but he's been able to do it before, which is huge. I do have it up. It is he hit 319. Seiya did in the second half last year through over 311 plate appearances. Hit 319, 14 homers and 5 steals when he was fully healthy and ready to go in the second half last year. So Seiya Suzuki or Wyatt Langford next rest of the season. Go Seiya Suzuki.
I go Seiya as well. I go Seiya for sure. But we got a couple guys here that might be worth the discussion point versus Seiya. Brian Reynolds, 10th at the position this year. This is a guy that I just had a blind spot to. I'm like, he's good, but how good is he? He's pretty damn good. 264 average, 18 homers and 5 steals in the first half of the year. Last year, like he started out red hot and then just kind of went curtains, which like went really quiet in the second half. Not so much this year. He's been awesome in the first half. Obviously, haven't got to the second half yet. He did strike out to end the game on Tuesday night, so got that going for you. But Brian Reynolds, I know that's a guy you've liked in the past, so that was a pretty good one there.
Yeah, we want to talk about boring with Christian Yelich. Brian Reynolds is even more boring. And yeah, I don't really have too much to say. Perfect 5 for 5. Excuse me, on the base pass. Double-digit barrel rate 3 of the last 4 seasons. Good K rate. Like, this is just an all-around producer who plays and continues to play every single day. 600-plus plate appearances for the Pittsburgh Pirates each of the last 3 seasons. So Brian Reynolds just continues to do Brian Reynolds things. Wouldn't be surprised at all if his 98 ADP is only slightly better in 2025, and he's undervalued yet again.
For sure. Lane Thomas has been awesome. He's 30th at the position, 9 homers, 23 steals, missed a time with injury. Yep. He's been great.
Real quick on Lane, I just want to, because there was a comment in the chat that I wish I had more Lane Thomas. One thing I'm a little worried about with Lane Thomas, just looking forward to the rest of the season, I think Nationals trade him. And therefore, I don't know if he hits first or second to whichever contender acquires him, A. And B, the Nationals, I believe, are the most aggressive team on the base pass of any team in the majors. And obviously, if Thomas gets dealt, will that light be as green as it has been? I don't know, but it's just something I'm a little bit worried about with Lane Thomas the rest of the way.
Lane Thomas or Wyatt Langford?
Yeah, it's the name of our episode.
It's an interesting debate.
I'll hop aboard the Lane train.
Yeah, it's Lane train. Teoscar's been amazing. Home run derby champion, 13th at the position. Like, we were very excited about Teoscar this season, so that's a good one there. Schwarbaum's is fun. 11th at the position. I think we're starting to see where I guess they what they weight a little heavier than others. Let's put it that way. Kyle Schwarber on the season, he is hitting 249, which is much better for Kyle Schwarber.
Yep,
19 home runs, so the batting average boost has helped him a ton.
That's where I was gonna not push back there, but I did not realize Kyle Schwarber was hitting 250 like that. If you take a 249 batting average in the All-Star break from Kyle Schwarber, you gave that preseason, that draft price would be insane. So Schwarbaum's doing Schwarbaum things, striking out a little bit less. I don't think he's a 250 hitter going forward, but that popped, and is also, dude, 10 steals 2 years ago, nothing last year, and back to 4. So on pace for like 7 this year. How the hell do you predict that? But it's been a great year for Schwarber. 65 runs as well. The always underappreciated runs category, leading off for the Phillies. That helps a ton given how often he gets on base.
Most definitely. Evan Carter's obvious. Spencer Steer, 12th at the position. We talked about him at, I believe, his first base. Just how wrong we were about, great for draft and hold because of all the positions, and now he just continues to beast out yet again. So that's pretty impressive there. And then we got Jackson Chourio. It was like Chourio and Wyatt Langford everyone was pumped on. Chourio's been like in a platoon at times and just all over the board. I don't have a lot to say about him. I just wanted to bring up 51st at the position.
No, it's just, I mean, we kind of glossed over Evan Carter just because we can't talk about every single one. But yeah, Chourio, Carter, and Langford, again, at least until recently, pretty poor showing overall for top prospects, both preseason and in season and fab this year.
Yep, most definitely. But George Springer, here we go. We'll talk about it. 57th at the position. Hey, I like it because I have shares. Remember, I kept saying I almost dropped them and I didn't.
You
I'm
held.
happy now. 202 overall at the position, but it's been a tale of I guess a season. 211, 205. June hit 222 with 4 homers. He's like the back half of June was much better. In July, he's hitting 286 with 2 homers already and a stolen base, hitting towards the top of the Jays order once again. Things are lining up, it feels like, for a nice second half of the season for George Springer. Rest of the season, the BATX has him at 260, 8 homers, and 6 steals. I'd take the over on those, at least the homers, I would say. So I'm feeling pretty good about your George Springer situation.
Which would be close to almost another 2020 season for Springer.
Yeah.
I do wonder what Toronto does at the deadline. Will they deal pieces around Springer? Will they deal Springer himself? Springer had been leading off for much of the season, then got dropped, but something I'm looking at with Springer. But I didn't think he was as bad as the surface stats were. I was kind of preaching for folks to hold on and wait this one out.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one. Nick Castellanos, I actually don't see things picking up for Casty. I don't know if I looked at him. I actually put him as a faller in this past week's risers and fallers column, and so probably it's 2 homers this weekend. Got that going for you. But it's been a really dreadful year. The swinging strike rate's been horrible. He's like a 39% O swing. It's just been a really, really rough plate approach, almost Javi Baez-esque, and the overall production starting to catch up with him, it feels like.
Kind of depends how many more tragic events occur.
Yeah, I was that's why I was going to stick with my fallers thing with what's taking place in the world these days. I wasn't going to go there.
We're gonna go there.
And maybe your starting quarterback for the Ducks on your football game goes out with an ACL injury. Something
don't
like
say that. Castellanos did homer on Saturday, so there is that. It's yeah, no, I agree with you. It's someone who I think, like, I wonder what the aging curve looks like for Nick Castellanos. He has a like Javi Baez type plate approach, aggressiveness, and that type of plate approach. I've read a few things on research based on that. That tends to not age well, and you just kind of lose your athleticism and ability to hit those balls outside the zone as often as Castellanos swings outside the zone. So little bit worried that Father Time comes a little bit early for Nick Castellanos.
I'm with you on that. The All-Star MVP, the number 3 outfielder at the position, 20th overall, not just in the outfield, overall at the position, Jarren Duran. I know a lot of people love the power speed combo that has come through. He's playing pretty good defense. He's at the top of the Red Sox order. Jarren Duran, it's one of those prospects that took a little extra time to get going. Bloomfield, a few extra years. He is turning into that machine that everybody thought he would be, and it's been awesome to watch for many reasons. I like his story he's telling as well. I think more stuff like that has to come out, but production on the field has been absolutely outstanding, and I don't see it changing because that Red Sox offense is actually sneaky good. Well, it's not all of it's that sneaky, but it's really good.
Yeah, which is a big reason why Jarren Duran has 62 runs scored, which is already more than he had all of last year, though. He played more this year already than last season. Big growth year for Jarren Duran. Big growth year. Jarren Duran's strikeout rate in each of the 4 seasons in the majors for him, 36% as a rookie, then 28, then 25, and now 22%. So making more contact as he progresses through his career and not selling out for the contact. All-time high in raw power and barrel rate for Jarren Duran, and the speed has always been there. So this looks really good. I did not realize this was one of those. I did not realize ones. I did not know he was the 3rd outfielder. He has been.
That's pretty fun right there.
He has been awesome. He has been. You could even make the argument that he deserved more home runs, 27 barrels to just 10 home runs, but doesn't pull a lot of those barrels. He smashes it off the monster.
That's trouble.
Yep, yeah. Exactly. So it's not even like I don't know. It's not a bad thing to just barrel off the monster and do have doubles and triples constantly,
especially hitting in front of Ton and Devers and company. Just get on base. Just get on base, buddy. You'll be fine.
Yep.
We'll skip Jordan Walker and Esteury Ruiz. Anthony Santander, 16th at the position. Dude's got 24 bombs at the break. Like, he should have been in the home run derby, for instance. 28 home runs last year, 33 the year before. I'm pretty sure he's going to surpass both of those numbers this year. hitting 237, 257, 240 the last few years. He is an absolute beast. And yeah, he's been awesome, worth every bit of it.
Absolutely. We'll be approaching entering the 30s for home run total for the second year out of 3. Did so in 2022. I think the big thing for Santander, he's one of the big beneficiaries of the Baltimore lineup, because you mentioned the batting average. He's never going to be a big batting average guy because he hits so many damn fly balls. But Santander getting 49 runs and 58 RBI in that lineup is why the production has been so good for Santander. So really, really nice year, and kind of timed it well with how good Baltimore is as a team. That crew can hit, man.
That's one way to put it. Yes, they can hit.
Except for this guy.
I'm about to say, but not all things are created equal, Ryan. And his name is Cedric Mullins. He cannot hit. I wasn't going to deep dive into this one because he had like a hot spell about a week or two ago. I'm still not a believer, and he's 55th in the position. If you have anything else, you're welcome. Otherwise, I'm moving on.
No, go ahead. No, I could, but we've got a bunch to cover. So
Riley Green, 14th on the list, 47th overall. This is one that bugs me because I was all in, and then he had the injury setback, and I kind of backed off because initial reports were not good at all. Again, initial reports in spring, like spring reports just suck in general because it's almost a coin toss on what's actually accurate these days. He's healthy. He's been awesome. He's 14th at the position. And on the season, Riley Green has 17 home runs, 4 stolen bases, hitting 271, and he was an all-star this year. So Riley Green has been darn impressive, and I think this is one of those guys that's going to get better. Like next year, his ADP will be higher, but I think he'll be worth every penny. Like I think he's even better than what we're seeing is what I'm trying to say.
The craziest thing with Riley Green is he's doing all this without running. And I thought that was a big part of the package as a prospect was, we hadn't really seen it in the majors, only had 8 career steals through his first 2 seasons, but he had that broken foot or whatever, didn't run. And this year only has 4 stolen bases. So for someone who I thought the speed game would be at least not a huge part of his game, but at least, 15, 20 steals, something like that. He's doing this without really running. And while that's interesting and noteworthy, I wonder, will Riley Green, will he eventually run? I don't know the answer. I don't think Detroit runs very often as a team, so we'll see. But just it was interesting to me to see Riley Green be this good and basically do it all on the shoulders of batting average and home runs in a ballpark that's not that great, for a lineup that's not that great, and not running. It's been impressive for Riley Green, especially in the power department.
Yes, it was very, very impressive to see so far, and I'm really curious if he can keep it up because Ben Money for sure. Chas McCormick, we've talked about that many times on Fab and whatnot, been massively disappointing. Christopher Morel keeps hitting homers, but the other part of his game is he's a tough roster at times because he's striking out a ton, and the batting average is rough for Christopher Morel. Henry Davis, not good. Let's talk Ian Happ, another Chicago Cub on the list. Morel, not great. We got Happ, got Suzuki. Ian Happ is 17th at the position, Ryan. 15 homers, 7 steals, only hitting 243. Like we've talked about it, I think, every season. Is he going to hit for power or is he going to hit for average? He never does both. He's hitting for power.
And he did neither for quite a while. I mean, he was trying to pull up his monthly numbers. I mean, Ian Happ was atrocious to the point we were getting a bunch of do I hold on to Ian Happ? Yeah, because so in April it was a 189 batting average with 1 home run and no steals for Ian Happ. So he's been this good basically with a month of nothingness. So the 15 homers, 7 steals, it's a nice combo, and we are starting to get the full Ian Happ picture now. I think 3 out of the last 4 seasons, it has been that low batting average compiler with like 20 home runs, 10, 15 steals, which again, at a 190 ADP, if you can kind of bank that every year, which Happ's been doing, you sign up for that. So nice in-season rebound from Ian Happ when things look pretty bleak when the calendar turned to May.
Yep, most definitely. We don't need to talk about Soler. What I wanted to bring up, because this is the top 40, this went to ADP 190.
Yep.
It gets fun after 200. Stephen Kwan is right there. He's probably a top 10 guy. I'd imagine, based on his average and his runs scored. Tyler O'Neill's there. You have, who was the other guy I was thinking? You have Jackson Merrill is down there. There's a handful of guys that went even later in draft season that would be top guys. So I think it goes back to your initial point that outfield may be a position we should not overreact too much about and just wait on at times. It feels like, especially with the comments on Fab, as you can always find outfielders to stream too.
I was just going to bring that up too, just because every week it seems like when we're talking Fab hitter ads and streaming, it's like there's outfielders. I don't want to say abundant, but compared to corner and middle, absolutely abundant. So yeah, I've got breakouts here. We'll run through this because two of these guys.
Oh, sorry, I missed that completely. That's my bad.
Completely surprised me. Brent Rooker is the number 5 outfielder according to the Fangraphs Player Rater, drafted 309. I did. Yes. I did, and it was equally as surprised. Like, obviously, I don't have much Brent Rooker, but good God, he'll be traded too, most likely.
21 home runs in the first half, folks, hitting like 291.
Yeah, then the batting average part of that equation is the most surprising. Thought Brent Rooker hit for power, but did not expect a 290 batting average. And then the next guy, Brenton Doyle.
Yeah, so
Doyle rules this year, 339 ADP. He's the number 6 outfielder, and I believe, do you have his stats up? I don't have them up.
I'll pull him right now. I have a ton of them. He's on pace for an easy 2020.
I think it's another big power speed season, and with a batting average that is now like passable.
He's hitting 276, 15 homers, 20 steals.
That's passable. That's
like a I'm not gonna say 30 because it's a little over half. Like that's a 25, 35 pace for like a 270 average. Yep. That's wild. And he's not a Coors only dude. That's the fun part.
Yep. And I was just gonna say maybe drafted for as a streamer that late in drafts, but yeah, he is not just a Coors guy. So was pretty shocked to see Brent Rooker and Brenton Doyle 5th and 6th. Jackson Merrill is another breakout, 261 ADP, 21st off the board. I forget which comment we had in the chat earlier, but it is
best rookie
funny.
Outfielder.
Yep, that Jackson, of all the rookie outfielders, Jackson Merrill, who was not really on any, well, I shouldn't say that, wasn't on my radar for much of draft season until he kind of randomly became, I remember this, when San Diego kind of randomly said he's going to be our starting center fielder for the Korea series.
Yep.
People were like, what? And turns out Jackson Merrill, again, so far has outpaced the Evan Carters, Wyatt Langfords, and Jackson Churios of the world. So pretty good stuff there.
Yeah, and then you have more Brandon Nimmo. He's got 16 home runs already. That shocked me. Alec Burleson's been amazing. I know Uncle Ted just mentioned him. I wrote him up recently for I can't remember what article now, but hitting 268, 17 homers, 7 steals in the first half. Dude's 25, so he's having his kind of breakout season. Got Stephen Kwan and Lourdes Gurriel. That's a guy we liked, Lourdes, because we were like, why is he going this late in drafts yet again, especially when he re-signed with the D-backs. That was fun, and it's kind of quieted down a little of late, but still as a whole, he's hitting 264, 13 homers, 4 steals, and he had an ADP of 234, so it's not too shabby.
Agreed. Alec Burleson for me is the kind of big surprise. I for as much as I did recommend him in Fab, like as a streamer, as a lefty going against righties, thought it'd be more of an empty batting average, but it has absolutely not been for now. The man who we now call barrel season. 17 home runs and 7 steals and 288. That's really good stuff. I think Uncle Ted also mentioned Elliot Ramos, who was not on my breakout list, probably because he missed a month or two. But
I doubt he was even drafted in a 12-team league.
Yeah, or maybe he was like never even drafted outside of draft and holds and not in main event. So who knows? But shout out to your boy.
Yeah, Elliot's been awesome. All right, you want to talk some relief pitchers real quick? So I can't wait to hear you explain this chart.
All right, here we go. Hold on.
Because the player rater is not kind to the grading system here. So it's going to be a little confusing to look at, folks.
Yeah, and I don't want to knock. So this is the first year really that Fangraphs has come out with their player rater. Had used Razzball in the past, and there's Fantrax player rater. I mean, there's a million out there, and a lot of it's just valuation questions and things of that nature. So when I pulled this for the first time and kind of posted it today, built the graphic for the show, just noticed like it didn't seem to weight saves as much as we do in the 5x5 game. So, for example, I'll explain what we're looking at on the sheet. It's basically the same template, but it's your top 24 relievers by preseason ADP and then their ranks. But for example, like Camilo Doval is, even though he was the 4th reliever taken and hasn't had a great year, actually has been low key kind of bad, is the 81st reliever. And I don't really buy that with, I think, 17 saves that Camilo Doval has. There's just a lot of guys at the Fangraphs Player Rater, like a lot of middle relievers, 0 saves guys that that really get pushed up in the Fangraphs Player Rater. So again, not a slight to the valuation or whatever, but just something to keep in mind as we're talking through some of these position ranks. Your traditional closers who have built their value on save totals probably aren't going to be as highly rated on the Fangraphs Player Rater. One, I'll kick it back to you, but just a random kind of tidbit that I noticed that I quizzed you on, Bubba, and you got right. The number 2 reliever so far this year, and at first I was like, what the hell? And then I looked at it, is your guy Ryan Walker. So 0 saves, right? So kind of off of our radar in saves leagues. But Ryan Walker has 6 wins, 62 strikeouts, 2.32 ERA, and a 0.89 whip. Like, I can kind of see someone being that high. And I think on the Razzball Player Rater, Ryan Walker is like 11th or 12th. So he's been up there. But anyway.
He was a popular ad in recent weeks. So
yep.
I've seen people streaming him now because he's that time of the year where might get you a win here and there. So I totally get it. We'll kind of go through this quickly. Edwin Diaz has been injured or sucked. Then he got hurt. Got
suspended. Which I still like. I'm not going to victory lap it, I guess, but like I still never understood why we would have Edwin Diaz the number 1 reliever when we hadn't seen him pitch for over a year. Like that just never made sense to me. But anyway,
yeah, I get it. Josh Hader's up here on the list, 15th. He's got his 18 saves, which seems to be more than I expected from him. 3.86 ERA, which is not what you want to see, but the Sierra is 1.87, which is outstanding. 33% K to walk, so that's why he still rates out pretty good.
0 concerns there.
Yep. Clase is awesome. We talked about it off air, so let's talk about it for the listeners. Camilo Doval, yes, it shouldn't be this low because he's actually getting saves, but what this chart does do is it points out guys that are not being very good, like at least efficient on the mound is the way I'd say it.
Yep.
Doval's got his 17 saves, but the dude's got a 4.38 ERA, which obviously is going to crush you. And you're like, oh, there's room for optimism. Okay, a 3.65 Sierra. Still not what you want from an elite closer. Let's be honest about it. The K to walk's 14.8% because he's walking 14% of the batters he faces.
Oh.
I was telling Ryan off the air how bad he's been because I sit him in my leagues. I can't cut him, but I sit him unless I literally have no one else to put out there right now. He's not my primary target to put out there at closer. It's been rough. Watching him reminds me of the old days with like Brian Wilson as a Giants closer.
The Beard.
Beard, yes. And the Giants' nickname for the 9th inning was Torture because he didn't know if it was going to be good or bad. And that's when Camilo comes out there. And also, if you just look at game logs, some of his worst outings, for some great reason, Bob Melvin brings him in non-save spots and Doval gets destroyed. Like if you can live bet Giants games and you see Doval come in a non-save situation, start taking some in-game overs or something because it's going to get ugly quick.
Is there any risk for folks that have Doval out there? What's the leash? What's the leash look like? Is there a risk of him losing the job at some point? Or
I think he's fine, but Mike Krukow, and take this for what you would, it could be an old school mindset or whatever. Krukow and Kipe, they take turns going on the local radio station weekday mornings. And Krukow was on Monday morning, and Doval had a rough Sunday before the All-Star break ended. And they asked Krukow about what did we do with Doval. Krukow says he's been so bad that he either needs to get removed from the role for the time being and potentially even sent to AAA to work on his mechanics. Because he was pointing out things with Doval, which he knows way better than me, that when he gets into a situation that he only has one pitch to trust, his whole mechanics switch, and that's why it gets even worse. Like he was watching it. There's a lot going on between the years with Doval right now.
Okay, interesting.
It's bad. It's bad, and I didn't think it was that bad because I don't watch every game, and I'm not an ex-pitcher that sees these things. Kruko pointed out a lot of things at first. At first, I see the headline, Duvall needs to go to AAA. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Then you look at his reasoning, and you're like, oh, I can kind of like Bobby Miller's in AAA to get his things worked on. Duvall still isn't that old. Like, he's just been really good. But this was an issue Duvall had. I saw him in single A years ago. Talent, threw harder than anybody. Nasty slider. Control was always the issue with him. Like, he barely made it through single A at one point. Then he got it together, skyrocketed to the bigs, pitched well. We're seeing it again. So I'm afraid there's something there. I don't know what the Giants would technically do because the Giants aren't good anyways. But yeah, Duvall could see a breather. Wouldn't be surprised.
He's been one of so I would say Diaz bust, Duvall, I wouldn't say bust, but not great. Evan Phillips. So we skip if we. Yeah, he's been good. We'll skip over Raisel Iglesias and Munoz. They've both been fine. Obviously, Munoz commanding lead over Pete Fairbanks way later on down the list in our beer bets episode, beer bet list there. We got what? David Bednar, Alexis Diaz, Fairbanks, Clay Holmes.
Holmes got roughed up lately.
Yeah, though. Did you see that? You saw I think it was Sunday, the Holmes blown save and the Craig Kimbrell win.
Yeah, that was wild.
When there was a routine 99% catch probability to Verdugo in left field, and he just randomly ran in and missed it.
Yeah, that was well played, as they say.
So. Holmes went a long time without giving up a run, and then the dam broke. But I think I don't know.
Yeah, Helsley's been one of the biggest pleasant. Well, okay, this goes to your drafting. Helsley, Kimbrell. I don't really count Tanner Scott there, but.
Why not?
Well, I don't think he's the sixth. I don't think he's sixth best in the position. He's been good.
What Tanner Scott do to you? Hold on a sec. Yeah, 14 saves only.
Look at the
134 whip. ERA for my man.
Look at the whip.
107.
Okay, it's gotten better.
That's good. And 6 wins. I think the Fangraphs Player Rater is
the wins.
They really like their wins. So 6 wins.
Because Kimbrell's got 6 also. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, Kimbrell has 6 wins, but whatever. We can nitpick. But this Helsley, Craig Kimbrell, pocket, and I don't know, throw Tanner Scott in there, but like going right inside the top 100. Helsley and Kimbrell have been really good. I mean, even the ratios with Kimbrell, 280 ERA, 0.96 whip. That's even better than Helsley.
Which is impressive for how many blown saves he has.
I know. It feels like Kimbrell has 10 blown saves this year, but
he's got like a 6-3 record with 20-something saves.
Right.
And somehow has a sub-3 ERA and a sub-1 whip. That's magic, folks. That's David Copperfield would like to say congratulations.
Yep. So, and I, as a Craig Kimbrell owner, I feel like he has not been good, and there he is, number 3 overall for relievers. So, there was some chat going on about Yohan Duran, who was the 15th reliever. If you recall, Duran had injury problems. Duran was like a top 5 reliever entering before his injury in draft season. So that kind of fell ADP 112, and turns out Duran's been just fine. So not too big of a deal. Just 15 saves. Hasn't gotten every single Minnesota save, which like Griffin Jacks has 7.
Yep.
I think a bunch of those were while Duran was out, but it hasn't been full on Duran in Minnesota.
Yeah, Paul Sewald, he had the 3 ridiculously bad blown saves, but kind of bounced back over the last few outings. So we'll see how that pans out. Kenley Jansen's been doing the same thing we joke about every year. It's ugly, but he's going to end with 25 saves, not destroy you. He's not going to be the elite guy anymore, but he makes for a fine reliever too. Like a fine reliever too.
19 saves and a 2.16 ERA, more than a K per inning for old man Jansen, man. Like, man, he was written for dead by a lot of folks. So
Robert Suarez has been kind of that Ryan Helsley story. Suarez has been amazing. It was kind of the who's going to be the closer in San Diego, and it kind of felt more like Suarez towards the end. Those that took the chance on him, that turned out. I remember one of our first auctions in early February, he went for $1, stuff like that, because you didn't know they assigned 2 pitchers from overseas to be potential closers.
Yes.
One's not even in baseball anymore.
And Suarez, I believe, got a Korea save. And so his ADP in these main event drafts, a lot of which were drafted after that, was much later than 129. Suarez was, in hindsight, probably the biggest bargain of any of
Yes.
these relievers.
Yeah,
So,
because Carlos Estevez has been really good. Not as good as Suarez, but good. Mason Miller's been an electric factory. We know
dude,
that. He's shown he's human of late, which I'll be nice, but even looked great in the All-Star game, pumping 100 plus out there. But then there's Kyle Finnegan, who's been amazing as well, over 20 saves this year. He could be traded. Hunter Harvey's already been traded, so we'll see what happens with Finnegan, but he has been nothing short of spectacular.
he absolutely has, with a nice step forward in a strikeout rate from last year. So missing some bats. So yes, another one where if you waited on closer and took Finnegan at ADP 200, again, I don't know if he gets traded. Will he remain the closer on a contender? That I'm a little skeptical of, but certainly can't complain about Kyle Finnegan. Do you have any, like, I don't know. I look at the reliever board just in general, Bubba, and like I don't really have any big takeaways other than like reliever is kind of a crapshoot. Like last year, it felt very stable up top, and I think that was kind of a one-off. I don't really see any like general trends here. There's some guys that have performed, other guys haven't. There's been injuries. Like I don't know. Just relievers are gonna reliever.
Yep, that's pretty much the way it is. It's back to reality. Is what it feels like. Except, not a lot of guys available on the waiver wire. That's the one thing. Is
Yep.
usually
Yes.
we get either you're a lockdown guy or we get options. Not as many lockdown guys, but not as many options either. So that's been the fun part. I will mention AJ Puck's on this list, and a lot of the downside's been his starting, because I talked about him on my last show with Ben, and since he went back to the bullpen on May 13th, he's made 25 appearances. He's only allowed runs in 3 of those appearances for 7 runs. He has a 2.39 ERA, a 2.98 Sierra, and more importantly, a 21% K to walk. He's shown massive improvements, and he should be, quote unquote, in line if Scott gets traded. Puck could get traded too, but Puck was picked up in a lot of OCs this past week as a spec guy. So I just want to bring that up because that's dark red. But that probably credits his 4 starts, which he was just horrifically bad in.
Absolutely. And full agree. I actually have my speculator coming out Wednesday for HQ is about trade deadline fill-ins. And I basically wrote exactly what you just said about Puck if Tanner Scott gets dealt. The year-to-date line for AJ Puck is not the same as the pitcher he's been out of the bullpen.
Yep, I agree. Pat in the chat here says, so is the strategy next year to grab as many low-end guys as you can? I'd still get at least one quote-unquote ace guy and build from there like I always do. But what about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, because you're still, I think you're still happy with a hater Clase Iglesias Munoz. I've got a lot of Iglesias, and like it's just nice to be able to forget about it, especially because what we were just saying in Fab for the second year in a row now, there have not really been many closers. And to me, at least, the way I want to build teams is I do not want to spend my Sundays speculating on relievers. It's not a way to live life.
I'd rather navigate 9 outfielders and go play 2 games of college football 25 is what it sounds like.
And go to a 3-year-old's birthday party or something.
Exactly. That's what I'd much rather. I don't want to sit around on Sunday and say who blows the save and who gets to come in the 10th and pick it up and might be the new closer. That's not where I'm at on this one.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it now, I still think, Pat, I'd keep the same strategy of taking one in maybe the 5th, 6th round, whatever, and then not waiting too long to get my second, which is where we have seen a lot of those successes this year around ADP 100 to 130. So I'd probably still stick with that, but again, there is no right answer there with relievers for sure.
And what I'll still say is like the top 13 guys on this list, so the left column plus Kimbrel, most of them are still getting you 20 plus saves in the first half. Like
Right.
most of them got you. It's just the ratios have been all over the board. So that's been the struggle part. If you look at the second half here after Kimbrel, you have Suarez, Estevez, Miller, and Finnegan with 20 plus saves. You're not getting a bunch of saves on the right side. Jansen's got 16, I guess, or whatever, 19. But
19,
you're getting more saves with your early picks. It's just the ratios have been suspect, and then you still have to hit gold with the right side. Like some people, like Jose Leclerc. Obviously, that didn't work out, but if you took a chance on Robert Suarez, that was amazing. So just kind of yin and yang stuff.
Yep,
wouldn't give up on it just yet.
Real quick, so breakouts, and this kind of dovetails into what we were, or dovetails from. Do you dovetail from something? Probably just shouldn't say dovetail. Our discussion about no fab. There are like no breakouts outside of Kirby Yates. Kirby Yates is the number 7 reliever. that has been your one huge hit off of Fab. A, because it happened in April, and B, he's held the role the entire time and should in Texas throughout. The other two quote unquote breakouts that I've got on this list, Daniel Hudson is 9th, which I don't know. I think that's probably very win induced, does have a few saves. And then Jeff Hoffman is the number 10 reliever per the Fangraphs Player Rater, drafted 401. And I think he's still at like single digit saves, but maybe approaching 10, and probably should get more.
Getting close to 10.
Yeah. So yeah, just not much to what we were just saying about Fab. Not much off the Fab bin outside really of Kirby Yates this year.
Yeah, Hoffman has 9 saves. He's been awesome. He's getting more save chances than Alvarado of late. But they've been splitting it pretty good as well. All right, let's do a couple listener questions before we head out of here, Ryan. This is more of a comment than a question, according to Torres at Torres Takes on Twitter. He says, looking at the chart, Spencer Steer probably doesn't get enough love. Don't hear many people talking about him, but he's putting together a really solid season while also giving us that sweet multi-position eligibility. We agree. Michael Cicchini, who's also in the chat with us here, he says, I don't know if this counts as interesting, but noticed this yesterday. 8 of the top 15 taken after pick 150, talking about outfielders. Or 8 of the top 15 outfielders are taken after pick 150 this year. Last year, there were 0 in the top 15 after pick 150.
Interesting.
Who should we have probably known to draft higher? For me, it's Reynolds, Teoscar, and Steer. Yeah, he has a whole nother tweet here. In 2023, 0 of the top 15 outfield finishers were drafted after pick 115.
That's a wild stat.
And right now, 11 of the current top 30 were taken after pick 180.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Good dig. I like that, Michael. And that's I don't know if that's the same kind of line of thought as outfielders being plentiful available in Fab, but it does seem like, again, in hindsight, with almost half the season still to go, given how bad outfield has been in the early rounds, that was the position, and how good it's been apparently later on. That outfield, the answer is wait on outfield for 2020.
That's the look. We might just figure that out later, because I just remember, if J-Rod puts it together, he's 23rd now. Mookie Betts comes back healthy, he's 26th. Tucker's 19th. Fernando Tatis is 20th.
Yep.
At least 2 out of those 4, if not all of them, are top 15 by the end of the year. I'd be willing to speculate on. Ian Happ is 17th. Anthony Santander 16th. Like, they're also post 160, so that doesn't help my argument there. Yeah, there's wiggle room for a few guys for sure. But for the most part, it's still right. Like, those are the top 4 picks. After that, looking at the rest of this board, it's going to take some miracle seasons out of Jazz or Suzuki or somebody else to jump into the top 15.
I just remember catcher being pretty chalk up top, shortstop being super chalky up top. Like, that's where so far you have, if you went with those early rounds, that's where you've gotten your value back for that draft slot. And yeah, the book's not over. The book's not written on outfield, but it's, yeah, just interesting yin and yang, to steal your phrase there, versus some of the infield positions.
It's fun. Pat Monahan says, James Wood, where does he go in redraft next year? Other side of the coin. Same question for Corbin Carroll. Wood, Ryan, strong first week. This last week, not as good. Just got the massive ground ball rate. A lot of Josh Bell on that player right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's almost an unanswerable question where Wood, I mean, just so much depends how Wood looks the rest of the season. But if you do want to use some comps, we had Wyatt Langford at 73 overall ADP. We had Evan Carter at 113, and we had Jackson Chourio at 125. So I think if James Wood just treads water, kind of doesn't go crazy, but also doesn't suck, you're looking at, I think, someone who is right around the top 100, if not in.
Yeah, that's fair. And Corbin Carroll, if he shows up in the second half, I see him maybe a second, third, like a Michael Harris ADP potentially. Yeah. But if he struggles again, we might get a Mike Trout type situation there, or maybe more of an Adelise Randy Arozarena type 50th pick overall. Like, people know the skill set's good enough, or he's not going to fall too deep in certain drafts.
Agreed. I think Corbin Carroll will stand. Again, so much depends on what the July, August, September looks like, but I think he stays in the top 50. Yep, and again, a year ago, like, he hit 25 and 50. Like,
yep. The skill sets, the skills are still there. It's something else, like between injuries and other things that are stopping him right now.
I will, if I may plug Baseball HQ. It's a free article actually this week. There's a deep dive on Corbin Carroll written by Tanner Smith. Tanner Smith, whose Twitter is Tanner Ball. And then there is a Tanner, and then there is a Tanner Bell in the fantasy space as well.
Just confuse the caveman, guys.
Exactly. But Tanner Smith wrote a deep dive on Corbin Carroll and the question of whether it's a shoulder or not. And again, it's free. You don't have to be an HQ subscriber to check it out. So just go over to Baseball HQ. I think I retweeted it today as well. Very much worth your time in reading on how Carroll has fared and how hitters are attacking Carroll with what they perceive to be an injured shoulder.
Yep. I think that's a fun one and well worth reading, obviously, because he does good stuff. He did another breakdown a couple weeks ago that was really, really good also. So it's fun having smart people do stuff for me. I always appreciate that. That's one of the perks of Baseball HQ and others. And trust me, I'm not shilling. I'm just saying there's a lot of good stuff out there. All right, Ryan, just going to wrap us up there. Any final thoughts before we're back on Friday with Fab Week 18 preview?
Yeah, Friday. So again, thanks to our usual rabid crowd on Tuesday, Thursday nights. Michael, Pat, Steven, and all. Good to have you hang out. But we'll be at some point on Friday. We'll send the tweet out. For now, I'm going to enjoy the rest of my All-Star break and maybe fire up what it's 10:20 local.
Oh, you got at least one or two games in you.
Time for another game or two. Let's go.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, well, enjoy that. Have fun. I'm going to the fair tomorrow. Take a little on rides, so we're gonna have fun with that. And that's my way of enjoying the week before we get back at it on Friday. And I'll start Thursday doing my other stuff. Lucky me. But we'll have fun there. But we're gonna be back at it before you know it, guys. So yeah, chat. Thanks for listening. You at home, thanks for listening. You that want to challenge Ryan, I'll get you that username soon enough. Don't you worry. I'll work on it. And you can send them challenges online.
It's for of a certain generation. It's as embarrassing as sharing your old AIM screen name. It's a tough username. I forgot I even had it.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, we'll figure it out one of these days. Maybe that'll be a bet, guys. If I beat him in a thing, you'll have to reveal his name.
Reveal my
that could be tag. A fun one. Yeah, we have enough beers on the line. We got some fun elsewhere.
Yeah, it may not be too hard to get that out of me after.
Yep. FPAS. I'll get them live, and we'll figure it out. But until then, make sure you check out Ryan on Twitter at RyanBHQ, the podcast at Bubba Bloom Pod. I'm at BDentric, and for now, this was Bubba and the Bloom, episode 152. Catch you all next time.